right, guys, go way back to when you first met, when you were 5 years old in kindergarten. Can you talk about?
Yeah, Zach's mother was our preschool teacher in Mesa. So I've known him I'm 28 now, and I've known him for most of them good 24 years or so. How old are you in kindergarten? I mean, preschool. Is it like 4 or something?
Yeah, I think like
3 or 4?
4 or 5 maybe.
I guess I should know that.
Yeah, you should. I don't know. I don't really know if we can really remember the conversations we had back then. It was probably about, if we should go on the swings or in the sandbox, or if we should, I don't know.
You were fighting over a shovel in the sandbox?
What Transformer you had versus what Transformers I had? Who was going to be the Decepticons and who was going to be the Autobots?
Yeah, I think that was the gist of our conversations back then, and we didn't really talk about music or,
But we've known each other. I mean,
a long time.
We went to we grew up in the same public school system. So we saw each other. There was a brief period where we were separated there in elementary school, but junior high and high school we were reunited.
Yes.
And when did you start talking about music and forming a band?
We both played instruments, and when we got into like late junior high, I'd start coming over to Zach's house because I knew that he played drums and he knew that I played guitar, and it was never really about a band. Because we had no idea what we were doing, we just, for lack of a better word, jammed. And I'm sure that could be disputed, how jammy it actually was, but we got together and just messed around.
I think we were pretty advanced for our age, as far as being in junior high and doing Metallica, Master Puppet stuff.
Yeah, you were rocking the double bass drum there.
Yeah,
so
I had double bass.
Our chops. I was probably a better technical player then than I am now.
So you could open for Slayer if you had to.
Yeah.
If we wanted to, we could. I always, if we went down that path, I always thought we could be a really good metal band. Because Tom is like kind of a hesher in the closet.
I think all males our age have a side to them that is metal that they may or may not want to admit to, depending on what kind of metal it was. If it was like the glam 80s stuff, or if it was like the Sepultura and like Slayer and really truly heavy stuff like that. I don't know. I think it got to a point like where we realized that we weren't, no matter how much we practiced, at least for me, we got to a point where no matter how much I practiced, I would never actually be a player like those virtuoso shredder people. And so that's when I think we started getting more into songs. And that's probably around the same time that we maybe that was about high school. And then that's when forming bands was the thing to do. So we did that.
The goal was just to get a show. Like if we could just play for people, like at an organized event where people are there watching us, that was like it. You know what I mean? Like there was actually a stage where you're a little bit off the ground, and there was a few lights and a PA. I mean, I think that was really like, if we could do that just a few times and have fun, that was sort of the goal, it seemed like, and then it just goes from there. Once you start doing that, and you start seeing you start getting other aspirations, I guess.
My basically Wood and Blue Records was my college roommate and a friend just deciding that they were gonna have a record label, and so they paid for us to record and pressed CDs and singles and poof, record label.
Wow.
There you go.
With the first split we did was with a band called Christie Front Drive from Denver. I think we did a split with a band Blueprint from Texas, and then we did a split with a band called Emery, and just like different bands here and there we did splits with, and we ended up doing a split with Jejune, and then also an Australian band called Jebediah.
Mineral Sensefield.
Yeah, Mineral Sensefield. So it was just a cool way, especially for us at that point in time when it's sort of like it's kind of like a mixtape type thing.
It'd be the equivalent of a website link today.
Yeah,
a split 7-inch would be the equivalent of today's, website link. You sort of like try to get your, like a band that has certain fans in one area that may like a band that has certain fans in a different area, and you know, subject each other's fans to the different music, and then, you know, hopefully some people cross over, and hence both bands are equally supported.
I think it's just I mean, that's one of the best things that a band can do is just hooking up with other bands and making friends, you know, and getting like-minded groups together and doing something that helps you and the other group, you know, and
not in a cheeseball networking kind of way.
yeah, no, not at all. But it's like, you know, like a lot of times you're on the road and you go play with a band you've never heard of before, and you really like them, and they like what you do, and you start talking, and they're from somewhere else and you're from here, and I think that it's like, you know, it does. I think it sort of signals a community in a way, you know, where you know, we don't need to make, like, you know, you never make money on a 7-inch anyway, and you definitely don't make money on a split 7-inch. So it's not about that. It's really about just, you know, sharing your music with people that may not have had a chance to hear it beforehand. So.
Do you feel like bands are still doing 7 inches?
Yeah.
Do you feel like they're still important to like underground music?
I think so. Maybe less and less, because I think that. Well, I think the vinyl is kind of going two directions at once. Like as you know, as worthless as CDs become, you know, more and more vinyl kind of appreciates. But at the same time, less people are producing it, so it's kind of harder to find, but not hard to find. And there's definitely people that prefer it for certain you know, types of bands. The same people that were running the Wood and Blue record label were also, I was involved with them doing you know, and we were like, okay, we should promote punk rock shows. And so, okay, poof, we were promoters, and we set up a show. We listed ourselves in Maximum Rock and Roll's Book Your Own Fucking Life as our as a you know, legitimate promotions company. And this band from Denver called Christie Front Drive needed a show in Phoenix on their way to LA, and I think it was their first tour, and they sent us a couple of LPs to check out, and it was awesome. And we set up a show for them, and the show sucked really bad, but, you know, what do you expect?
I mean, they didn't suck, but
no, I mean, like, our promotions job was you know, we had some learning still on that, but without even hearing us, we asked them to do a split 7-inch with us, and they were like, okay. And so they continued on their tour and went to LA, and a scout for Capitol Records, who was there to see, I think, Saintsfield or something. I think they were there to see some band that Christie Front Drive was opening up for, ended up really liking Christie Front Drive. And they asked him, like, well, what other releases do you guys have? And they said, well, we're doing the split 7-inch with this band from Arizona called Jimmy Eat World. And so the Capitol Records scout hunted down our first 7-inch through Toxic Ranch in Tucson, and he liked it, and he showed it to his A&R person that he worked for, and he liked it. And then you know, a month later, we're doing this gig in Mesa, and then some dude from Capitol Records shows up, and that's how we started working with them.
yeah. I mean,
it was pretty funny. I mean,
we got hooked up with Capitol really early on in our band. I mean, it wasn't like we, you know, it's kind of weird to consider what we did DIY, because we did get, you know, we got a lot. We ended up with a lot of resources falling into our lap that a lot of bands didn't get. You know, we were really lucky in that sense. I mean, we had, you know, we'd get like tour support, you know, just a little bit here and there to help pay for things that, you know, I don't know. I mean,
This is once Capitol came over.
yeah, once Capitol came around, you know, and so in a sense it was, you know, I think we ended up sort of learning how to navigate as a band through the world of being like a really small band on a major label. You know, we always had the freedom, because we flew so low under the radar at Capitol, we always had the freedom to do, like, you know, we probably did it illegally, but they didn't care. But we would do all these split 7-inches and like on different indie stuff, even, you know, it's like, well, we're just going to do it anyway. And what are they going to do? Sue us? You know, what are they going to take? You know, and
We decided to start working with Capitol basically because no one else was calling, and you know, we figured at the very least we'd have some, you know, if nothing happened, we'd have some funny LA stories.
yeah, exactly. I mean, at that point, it was like, what do we have to lose? You know what I mean? And we didn't really have this sort of, we never really sort of adopted this you know, mantra of, you know, indie only and stuff like that. I mean, we would go anywhere, or we would work with anybody who would want to help us out. And I just think that the Capitol experience is really bizarre in a lot of ways, but we learned a lot in a way that, you know, I mean, when we signed to Capitol, we thought, sweet, we're set. You know, like, you know, they're gonna, you know what I mean? We had this sort of naive thing, like the sky's the limit, you know, and I think we quickly learned, you know, like that's not the case. And
Within minutes.
yeah.
Oh.
We made the realization that, you know what, like, there are some good aspects to this. We are getting help in areas that we wouldn't have been able to get help. We are getting tour support, you know, and certain things like that. And but we learned that they just don't know, like labels. And today, I still don't think labels don't know what to do with acts that don't get on the radio. They don't know what to do with acts that don't get on MTV.
Major labels you're talking about.
Yeah,
Or bigger labels in general.
Yeah. Just major labels. I mean, you know, and even a lot of indie labels don't know what to do. It's kind of like there's not really a lot of. It's a really hard thing, you know what I mean? Like putting being a label, and any kind of label, is really hard, you know. And I think once you're a band and you understand that, then I think you get over it.
The less you rely on a label to be a band, the better band you're going to be because of it. I mean, you don't need a label to be a band. Oh no, I mean, like after we learned that, we sort of fell into a group of other musicians that were helping themselves because, you know, either you know, their labels, if they had a label, you know, were, you know, not in the position to give them tour support, you know, to buy a van, so they had to help themselves. And you know, we just fell into that group of people.
Yeah, the fortunate thing for us is we didn't really know any better. I mean, it's not that we, you know, knew instinctively what to do. It was really about what Jim was saying. Is about we just kind of fell into this group of bands like Christie Front Drive and Boys Life and all these kinds of bands that we sort of became friends with and would play shows with here and there. And we got to see how they did it, you know what I mean? And these are bands that weren't on a major label, and these are bands that just, you know, but in a very small way, we're all sort of in the same boat. And I think that we got to learn a lot from the bands that were around us. You know, we learned real quickly. Okay, you take a shirt, you know, silk screen on the tour with you, and when you run out of shirts, you go somewhere and buy some defective shirts for really cheap, and you have a day off, and you're at a rest stop, and you're just like, you know,
You're screening shirts.
You know what I mean? And those are the things that we learned. We wouldn't have thought of that, you know. But we just, you know, we see other bands doing that. It's like, okay, well, let's do that. That makes sense. Or, you know, just
what
stupid.
What else did you learn from those bands?
How to open up beer bottles with lighters.
Yeah. You know, I think a lot of it is just a sense of, you know, it's like we would just, you learn really quickly how to find a place to stay. You know what I mean? Like
Survival tips.
Yeah, you know, like just getting on the mic after you're playing is like, we don't have a place to stay. Can we stay? You know, inevitably, usually at every show, someone will say, "Hey, you can stay at our place," and you know, I mean, a lot of bands that go on tour. I mean, and bands still do that today, you know, and it's like, I think it's kind of a nice thing. I think that you learn more about, you make more friends, you stay at people's houses, you learn more about, I mean, there's still people today that we hang out with and that we talk to and that we reconnect with every time we come to their town because, you know, we slept on their floor or they gave us an extra bed or a couch, and, you know, and that's what makes going on tour fun.